Greetings and welcome back to Homebrew. Today we're going to be recapping Session 10 of the Call of the Hunger campaign, as well as preparing for Session 11. Now, last time we left off, our party left the Bracken Bastion in search of Hanubo, an Asueloon who was out a little bit too long for his lover's care, chasing off and fighting Profane. Now, in their quest to find him, they weren't necessarily happy about having to go do this because they really wanted to get off to find Emery's Weeping Willow tears, so that way they could collect those, get back to Lamore, and get her side quest finished before her timer reached its end. So what we really were doing is a race against the clock, and the objectives were find Hanubo, then go defeat the Weeping Willow trees, and then get back to Lamore. So we decided, as a DM, anyways, that we're going to make a bit of a time trap with trying to find Hanubo. Now, he was off hunting a Profane, and the characters were given the quest of following the markings that that creature made in order to find Hanubo. Now, as you can see, that's going to be a survival check in order to be able to navigate the path, and it's going to take a lot of time, and it could take even more time if people are led astray or have to double back. And so what we did is we made a short encounter just in this kind of trap puzzle type mechanic. And it ended up being very interesting and fun, especially when the party came across the wreckage of Cinder, a great godlike bear that had terrorized the area trying to kill these Profane itself. And essentially, what we had is a 200-foot down or 300-foot down disaster zone the party had to navigate to get to the feeding grounds. And I think that really gave our party a chance to let their auxiliary abilities shine. Wretch took a lot of fall damage, but had a bunch of resistance to it, and was able to dust himself off, use his clerical powers to heal himself, and was fine. Emery, on the other side, was able to use her survival skills to be able to uh, find where they needed to go, find signs that Hanubo had in fact gone that way, the creatures that they were looking for had gone that way, and then also navigate the treachery of the destroyed woodland area to get to the feeding grounds as well. And Ilya got to use his insane dexterity to be able to make sure that he made it down safely, assisting Emery as well. Additionally, in this time, the party got some background in what's going on in the world as a whole, or in the woodlands as a whole. They got to find a little bit more information on where Cinder's going, which is going to play a role into the main campaign. And they got to find a little bit more in on with what's going on with this kind of the feeling that we call the Call of the Hunger, thanks to the namesake. Now, in the time that they were doing this, they were able to find some trails that actually went to Hanubo himself. So, how did that play out for us? Well, when the characters actually got there and met Hanubo, they didn't like him so much, right? He's supposed to be a very off putting. So, it was a bit of a success on my part that the players didn't like him. It was a super success that they figured out it's not necessarily his fault. They were figuring out what's wrong with this guy that's making him act so bad. He's burning a creature alive, for Pete's sake, which Hanubo had a little bit of a reason to be doing that, but the party figured out that it wasn't just raw callousness at play. There's a bit of cruelty going on too, and it might not have been just him, as the players found out as they all failed their hunger checks, their discipline checks, to make sure that they staved off the feeling of the hunger. And in fact, a lot of them had pretty calamitous side effects from that as well, which was really good for us because the party started to actually figure out that there's something bigger going on here in the woodlands than just a little bit of a kerfuffle between the local tribes, right? So, big success there. The characters started to investigate script gates, which will be playing back into Ilya's background story or his side arc. So that was a really good success as well. But what went wrong? We forgot Wallaby back at the Bracken Bastion. Now that was a bit it's a bit of a problem, but at the same time it really isn't. Cosmetically speaking, Wallaby was a drunk and a bit of a lazy guy. So him forgetting, like not getting up and leaving with the party is totally fine. The party didn't seem to care too much. He's really only there to be glue for the party and to guide them through this area. So if they don't want or demand that he has a presence to be able to parlay with these other groups, that's fine by me. It's only going to make it a little bit more dicey, right? He does have a reason to meet up with him later because he's going to be going after Leanne and Shay. He was tasked to do that by Jackal, right? And the party might have to find her as well in order to help save Cinder, potentially, right? So there's a reason why he might still be in the picture, but we can stay tuned for that. They could run into him at the Bracken Bash, and they can run into him back at Lemoore, which is his own stomping grounds, right? So we've got some options. Now, what are we planning moving from here, right? The party is looking to go and get these willow trees, and they're really not navigating from the place that they got their directions from originally, which means that they're going to probably need to be doing some survival checks to be able to find this place, especially since it's not on the same floor of the woodlands as they are on right now. They're on the bottom floor. They need to be on the middle floor. So that gives us some opportunities for them to be able to bump into the Sillin tribe or the Flayon tribe, right? And if they bump into them, that gives us an opportunity to lace more story about Wretch and Ilya's side story, as well as give a good combat that is either going to cause the party to basically, they're going to be in a dilemma, right? They either need to rest to be much more prepared for the Willow Tree fight, or they need to press on, at which point they will have two fights back to back, and then now they're going to be straining for combat, but not necessarily hurting for time to get back to Lemoore. So I think that that'll all play out well. And you can see here that we planned and made those encounters, the Willow Tree fight, and those other two already in preparation. The only thing I did to add to these was that I made up a stat block here for all of those guys, and I updated our notes with a little bit of a little bit more on Julian and Feodora, the two that will be leading those bands that are questioning the party. Yeah, that's basically what we got. We got a little bit more details written in here, but most of those we already covered in the last recap session, so we're ahead of the game here. Now, where my focus is going to be is what's going on after this next session, because the party is going to go back to Lemoore, right? And we don't really have anything prepared for what happens after they leave the forest and they meet up with those centaurs that are on their way back to the main place. We don't have what's going on in Lemoore when they get back. We should have a little bit of tension there. Wretch didn't leave on good terms, right? We've got those other tribes, the Bronze, which are the Onyx golem-like people. We've got the Tekeknu tribe there that has a gang as well. That's going to have a bit of a questioning. Hey, what would you guys went and told our queen that we did right by you guys, right? They're going to have that whole questioning thing going on. And so it really puts us in a good position to cause a little bit of havoc on our party when they're there. They also have an opportunity to make a lot of money too. So let's make sure that we're emphasizing that when we think about what we're preparing next time. So that's all I really got for you guys today. So thank you for joining me here with this recap. If you guys got questions or comments, please post them on this video. Post them on the session 11 as you join us or afterward, whatever is your viewing preference, and I will address those on our next recap. So thank you for joining us, and have a great evening.